Thank you everyone for the invitation. It's a pleasure for us to be here in this fantastic venue and this beautiful city, and to be able to explain the SOMES project, a project that we have been working on for already 5 years, and we believe it can be an interesting case study and hopefully spark some conversations today in this debate. So yeah, as I was mentioning, I'm going to talk about a project that we're actually building right now in Romania, in Cluj-Napoca, which is the SOMES project. As many of you know, the river SOMES is a very long river, 451 kilometers, that starts at the Carpathian Mountains and connected through a system of river, eventually reaches the Black Sea. So this river crosses through the city of Cluj-Napoca. There we go. And as it passes through the city of Cluj-Napoca, it crosses many different areas, like the city center, then the airport in the east. You also have some industrial areas in the northeast, neighborhoods that also were built in the 60s and 70s, and also other residential areas. So we got involved in this project. This was back in 2017 through a public competition, an international one that was organized by the city of Cluj and also by the Chamber of Architects. And now actually the project is under construction. So the competition put on top of the table a quite interesting topic, how you can potentially rethink the relationship between the river and the city throughout its 15 kilometers. A relationship that somehow has been quite conflicted. It has been deteriorating over the last 3-4 decades, to that point that the city doesn't really benefit of this asset, but actually turns the back to it. A dialogue that as I was saying is conflictive. There are not really uses of programs that foster that relationship, and in a way, the river has been understood as a hard infrastructure. There are electric towers that talk about that nature, and also, in a way, over the last 4 or 5 decades, the river has been seen as a kind of channel, as a DAC, which main goal is to transport energy and water. And for this reason, it has been domesticated through a system of concrete walls that, as you can see in this image, create a drastic high difference between the river itself and the population, to that point that the residents, they are not even conscious of the existence of this river. So the challenge was there on top of the table, how you could potentially rethink and reformulate this hard infrastructure to turn it into a public space. So while looking at this challenge, we had kind of a set of goals and ambitions from ecology, sense of place, and sustainable mobility. When it comes down to ecology, it was very critical for us to renaturalize the river, somehow bring the river back in time, get rid of those concrete walls as much as possible, and allow nature to kind of reconquer the river banks again. When talking about sense of place, in some particular areas, it was critical to reconnect the city and the river, somehow being able to bridge that gap, somehow bring the river back to the city and allow it to be part of the collective imagination through a set of strategies like creating new beaches, modifying the topography, improving the accessibility, creating some platforms, and so on. Last but not least, the SOMES was seen as an urban connector of public spaces, not so much like a line that divides the entire city into 2 parts, the north and the south, but actually rather a thicker band that has the capacity to include ecological system and also integrate public spaces, all interconnected through a system of bikes and pedestrian paths. So this is the entire project that we always like to show this image because you get a sense of the scale. For you who knows Cluj, on the lower left part you can see the stadium, so you get a sense of the scale of this project, and also you can see how in some cases it's wider, sometimes it's narrower, but it's always at least like 15 meters in order to be able to include pedestrians and bike paths. In other parts it gets wider as it acquires some public spaces and different green areas. Within this sustainable mobility strategy, it was key to build footbridges that were key to establish these north connections as I was mentioning before, the river summits is crossing from west to east. And also, they were designed in such a way to avoid that a pedestrian who had to walk more than 15 minutes in order to be able to cross the river. Then it was obviously key to have a system of bike paths. First of all, the river was understood as this kind of main spine of urban mobility, as you can see in the strategy number 1, but then also some key unprotected areas were somehow protected in order to leave the biodiversity. So in some areas, the bike paths were pushed away from the river. Also, it was super important to connect the 16 fragmented bike paths and again, achieve these north-south links. So here in this image, you can see, if you're able to kind of go back to the beginning of the presentation and envision this sharp concrete edge, that one is transformed into like a wider one, a softer one, where you can include ecological system, recreational areas, and of course, bike and pedestrian paths, as it happens here with this diagonal path that aim to stitch the river with the city of Cluj. It was also critical to rethink the traffic, the roads. So they are kind of main primary roads with a high volume of traffic that kind of run parallel to the river. So the proposal in a kind of master plan level was trying to redirect part of that traffic volume farther away from the river margins in order to only allow for like slow streets, shared spaces, and more ecological strategies next to the river Somes. As you can see in one of these areas, the Muchisescu Estrada, in which you have this shared space. So actually, the base of everything that I have talked about is this, that the project is now under construction. Here you can see how the topography is being modified. These footbridges that I was mentioning before are being built, and also this system of bike paths and pedestrian paths are also under construction in the area of La Playa, for those who knows the city of Cluj. So this project has received a lot of interest, not only in Cluj-Napoca and in Romania, but also abroad. We were invited last year to present this project at the Venice Biennale, and we put together this large model, this 25 meters model of the entire project that would cross the entire Arsenale. And now, actually, in the fall, we're taking it to the Lisbon Triennale. So if you're interested about the Somes project, you can come to Lisbon in the fall, or you can also wait a little bit longer and come to Cluj next year and see it yourself with your own eyes. Thank you so much.